There's something about the pencil and the paper that really appealed to me.
When I saw this, it was drawing and acting put together at once. It was love, and I could never stop.
It's horrible to think if it didn't exist, so I think it's for that reason, most importantly, it needs to exist.
Okay, so we really have a very fascinating project to talk about, and it's all thanks to these people who actually would go and deliver it to you guys. So first of all, for those of you who may not know who you two are, do you mind introducing yourselves and explain a little bit about what you do?
Okay, so hi, I'm Felicity Morland, and I'm the director of Hand-Drawn. So I'm an independent filmmaker. I've mostly been a 2D animator throughout my life, though. And so, yeah, I'm just creating this movie about hand-drawn animation and sort of how it's survived the last decade or so.
Yep. I'm Aidan Fantinatto, and I'm an associate producer, and I'm like the main production guy. Like I handle the camera, the sound, pretty much all that.
We're married, by the way.
Couple.
Yeah, that explains how you get involved with this project.
Yeah.
All right, so you've pretty much made this documentary based on hand-drawn animation. So what I would like to know is, why is it that you chose that subject in particular to go and create a full-on documentary, like to go and have a full-on adventure looking into this medium?
Great question. Aidan and I both have loved hand-drawn animation from a very young age. We both love all forms of animation, actually, but speaking for myself, I have like quite the affinity with hand-drawn animation, and I've worked in that field, and I've always been drawing pictures and like characters since a very young age. So I've been following it my whole life, and I was pretty saddened to see features kind of disappear, like 2D hand-drawn animation features disappear from cinema. So I kept following 2D hand-drawn animation projects since that happened. And we've seen them come back to cinemas a bit more, and like I've seen it kind of pick up momentum, and I just wanted to document that kind of thing, really, like, and the artists who are working so hard to keep it alive. So that's why I chose hand-drawn animation.
All right, that's yeah, it's definitely true that we are starting to slowly but surely see a little bit of a comeback, not necessarily as a main storytelling medium, but like slowly but surely we are seeing elements starting to pop up. I will get to that later because there is one question that will emphasize on that. But I did see the trailer, by the way, for this documentary, and I did notice that there are a lot of notable people that you have interviewed. A lot of prolific animators, and a lot of animators that worked on prolific projects. So, if you can you give us a little list of some of the people that you have interviewed for this documentary?
Okay, so far we've interviewed, quite like amazing artists. The first was Tina Nawrocki, and she's one of the main animators and character designers on the video game Cuphead. Some might have heard of it.
All right.
And also we've interviewed Bill Plimpton, who's a longtime indie animation legend. We've also interviewed Samantha Youssef, and she used to work for Disney, and now she teaches animators how to do gesture drawing for animation. And also Nancy Bayman, who also used to work for Disney. She's got credits on the Goofy movie, also Hercules and Fantasia 2000, and all kinds of other things. Like, and also we interviewed Roger Chiasson, who's worked on like everything, Disney. Like he's worked for Nickelodeon on Rocko's Modern Life, and now he's working at Yowza Animation. So yeah, quite a few people. Also, we've interviewed Nazir Pasha, and he worked on, like he's still working on the Castlevania Netflix series.
Oh.
So he's a very anime-inspired animator, and we definitely want to look into anime for this film as well.
Of course, considering how anime, in a way, is like kind of its own genre, but more still counts as hand-drawn animation in a sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely part of the discussion.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, I saw this at one point in your Facebook or something like that, that apparently you might have gotten a chance to go and interview Eric Goldberg, I believe? Would that be true?
Yeah. We're in contact with him, and he's agreed to do an interview after the campaign is finished for the film.
Oh, that is actually amazing. And that's probably one thing that I really am excited about, because like at that point, that's when you're bringing in like one of the true masters of hand-drawn that people can recognize and adore and all that kind of stuff. Well, not to discredit any of the other ones that you have interviewed, but like at least
they're all amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Like at least like with Bill Plimpton, like you are also getting superstars in the field of hand-drawn animation. Now, I'm sure that making this documentary, it has been quite a journey for you guys. So one thing I would like to know is that if there is one thing that you really have learned about hand-drawn animation by making this documentary, what would it be?
I've known a lot about it beforehand, but the one thing I can say is I've been learning a lot about the business side of producing hand-drawn works. It takes, it's incredible that it stayed alive, because it really just takes the persistence of these artists, to make it work, like especially the Cuphead guys, making a traditionally animated video game, like one of the best-selling games, it was a triple platinum title. So we've been learning a lot about the business side of things, I suppose.
Just like how expensive everything can just end up being, like keeping this stuff around be pretty expensive.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's the funny thing when you enter into arts. Like, you start to come in expecting that you would go in and think about the creativity that you would go, but the business aspect also plays a big factor. Like, even me making YouTube videos, it is mostly business than just making little videos and stuff like that. Now, for my next questions, I actually want to know about you two personally regarding hand-drawn animation, and one question that I have is, what is your favorite hand-drawn moment? Now, this is not necessarily about what is your favorite hand-drawn movie or anything like that, but just a specific moment in a hand-drawn animated project, TV show, or movie in general that really did amaze you or inspire you. Which one would it be?
In my case, I would just watch everything I could get my hands on from a young age. Like, since I can remember, like, my earliest memory is, like, I was 4 years old and I was watching Lady and the Tramp for the 5th time or something. And I would just watch everything I could get my hands on. Even, like, I found some weird, experimental European animated films at a young age. But there was a time later on where, I was like in school, I was about 10 years old, and I was kind of like, oh, animation's kind of kid stuff, like maybe I should grow up a bit. Though that all changed when I watched Spirited Away for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
When I saw Spirited Away, it was unlike anything I've ever seen. I think I was about 12 years old at the time, and something just clicked for me. And I'm like, I love animation. I'm never gonna... So I completely went back to my old ways, and I haven't changed since. I'm always watching animation whenever I can, checking out what's going on with it. So I'd have to say, it's hard to pick a moment, but it would have to be from that movie, because that is my favorite hand-drawn animated movie. If I had to pick one, I guess a moment would be, when the stink spirit is finally...
Oh, yes, like when it turns out he's a river spirit and then just flies off. Oh,
yes, he's finally freed from the stink prison, and he's flying around and everyone's celebrating, and there's just so much going on. I just found that amazing.
And also the scene, like, just beforehand when they have to pull out all that gunk and all the different things that were in that spirit, it really was amazing.
That entire sequence is
well choreographed. Yeah, well choreographed. And may I just say that it's not necessarily that surprising that you would have to mention if there is one movie that really is life-changing, it would have to be Spirited Away.
Yeah.
And for me, it was a cartoon called Ren and Stimpy that really, just watching that really just changed how I feel about animation. Like, there's an episode called like Sven Hoek where I think Stimpy and Ren's cousin kind of make a mess, and he comes home and he just freaks out. And just watching all that animation, like, you can see different artists every couple seconds, and just the colors and the movement, it just really stuck with me for a long time. Like,
Yeah.
I rewatched that scene over and over again. It's amazing. So that's an animated moment for me.
We're big Ren and Stimpy fans, so it's unfortunate about the recent news, of course.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, you got Bob Camp. At least you can just say that it's created by Bob
It's
Camp.
on Salvation.
Yeah, at least. I mean, like, I would, you can go and look into the positive aspects, and we're talking about Ren and Stimpy, so happy, joy, happy, joy.
Yes.
All right, so going back to something that we have previously talked about is actually regarding the use of hand-drawn animation right now. And like I said before, even though nowadays it's not necessarily used as a storytelling medium, like the main storytelling medium to use, we are slowly but surely seeing a comeback in the mainstream, oftentimes used more as a visual effect, rather it be with Minnie Maui and Moana, or even in live-action films in like Mary Poppins Returns, or even would be used in the end credits of animated films like The Box Trolls or Kubo and the Two Strings. So I would like to know, how do you guys feel about the way hand-drawn animation is being currently used right now?
Yeah, just like you said, it's used as sort of like a supporting character to CG animation and stop motion, which both of those mediums do still get a lot of feature films. But I'm so glad that it is being implemented in that way, at least, because I feel like it adds so much to those stories you mentioned. But it would be fantastic to see it, come back and get sort of more of the spotlight. Yeah, it's definitely used as like a pre-production tool, I'd say. Yeah,
it's heavily used in pre-production. I think Kung Fu Panda used a lot of 2D animation as a reference point, because when they did the animation 3D, it looked a little weird, but then they got someone in to do some hand-drawn stuff, and they were really, the movement was just a lot more fluid or something like that.
Yeah, I believe some of the opening bits, or there are some segments in Kung Fu Panda where it is a little bit more focused in hand-drawn animation, or at least they would use a 2D format to tell a story or to tell some flashback moments. I do recall that Kung Fu Panda would be a little bit more experimental in terms of its animation.
Yeah. No, I forgot what I was going to say. Sorry.
All right. Well, I guess it does make a good segue onto the next question that I have, is that, funny enough, when we would go on the internet and people would discuss about hand-drawn animation, or when we would see those little snippets of hand-drawn implemented in movies, we would often see people on the internet just absolutely lose their minds and just feel hopeful that one day hand-drawn animation would suddenly make a big comeback. Like, you would see people freaking out, typing out oh my god, it's hand-drawn, maybe it's gonna come back, and stuff like that. So what I want to know from you guys is that after going through that whole documentary and making all that, why do you think there is such a fascination with bringing back hand-drawn animation nowadays, even after years since we have seen an animated feature, or at least one in the mainstream, that would primarily use hand-drawn animation as its storytelling medium?
I think there's quite a few factors at play for why people are sort of craving it to come back. I think a lot of it has to do with it just seems to connect with people more, because seeing a drawing, it's very human. You see the imperfections. It can be very expressive more easily than CG can be expressive too, but I feel like it's more easy for 2D animation to be expressive. But I think also it's because we all grew up with a lot of hand-drawn animation features, so I think there's a bit of nostalgia element to it.
Yes, that familiarity that you're saying.
Yeah, I think so. Not to say that like we're looking at things with rose-tinted glasses, because you watch those movies today and they're still amazing, and they look great. Yeah, I think mostly that's sort of what's going on. And also just like it's just weird because there was so many 2D animation films and now there's very few. Like there are some, but there's very few now, so it's a little odd in that way. I also wanted to say 2D hand-drawn animation is still being used for TV quite a lot. It is coming back in that way for the previous question. And there's like there's a lot of content that's hand-drawn, but like you said earlier, it's not so much mainstream. It's it's like independent shorts.
Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is true. Like, when I would start to notice that there are shows like the reboot of DuckTales that would implement a lot more hand-drawn animation, where they try to make the movements a little bit more fluid, more so than something that would primarily use flash animation. In fact, there was actually something I saw on Twitter that was honestly a bit disastrous, where they wanted to remake basically there's this company that wanted to re-release Garfield and Friends on 4K, and they actually remade the whole intro using flash animation, and there is a noticeable difference. It was honestly painful, especially for someone like me who used to love watching Garfield and Friends. Just seeing it just crippled down into flash animation is just like, ugh. God.
Yeah, for sure. I think people, everybody wants quality entertainment, and you can achieve amazing things with Flash, but tends to be that for one reason or another, things are just made quite quickly, which is more possible in Flash. Mm-hmm. So when you don't take the time and you don't use, the older principles of animation, and you don't have a lot of that frame by frame detail happening, then you get results like that.
And you're right. The use of flash animation, it can be good, and I've seen a lot of flash projects that absolutely look amazing. It's just that you could tell when it's trying to be something that it's not. Like in the case that I was talking about with Garfield and Friends, like it's basically flash animation trying to be hand drawn, and that's the part where it seems unappealing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like with traditional, you have to get it right, and you can tell when something's going to be bad as you're working on it. But with computers and stuff, there's like these little tricks you can do, and just makes it a lot faster, but it might not look as good. Definitely, like there's a lot of shortcuts people take all the time.
Man. Speed over quality. All right, so going back to what you guys are working on right now with the documentary, I've probably mentioned this before, but you guys also right now have an IndieGoGo campaign going on. So can you explain a little bit more about the campaign for the documentary?
Oh, sure. So we're about close to 15 days into the campaign, and it ends at the end of this month. I think on the 26th of November. So we're running this campaign because we're based in Canada, and for a lot of these interviews, we need to head overseas to interview these people in person, get a closer look at what's going on in their studios and whatnot. So basically, it's to help finish the film in a whole and complete, proper way. Sorry,
a lot of international voices that need to be heard. Just to get this story through, because Europe just has a booming animation scene going on. Like the traditional animation's really going strong over there, and especially Japan. Like there's a lot of stuff happening, and we need to get over there. So that's why we're doing.
Our main goal is to visit LA, of course, because that's the entertainment hub of the West. So we want to visit a lot of Disney animators, and we already have some confirmed, including Eric Goldberg, and been talking to quite a few others, but I won't name names until they're 100% in. Yeah, so basically it's to ensure that we can finish the film and have like a very well-rounded look at where hand-drawn animation is today. Yeah.
All right. I'm sure there might be people who would be interested to go and donate to the IndieGoGo campaign, but of course, since it is from IndieGoGo, you would also be offering rewards. So can you explain a little bit about some of the perks that people would get if they do go in the IndieGoGo campaign?
Okay, yeah, for the IndieGoGo, there's quite a number of rewards. Yeah, there's quite a few, so I can run through them. You can get the film, of course. There's a bundle of physical rewards you can get, which include one of these lapel pins that we've made. Also, there's like pencils for animators, an eraser with the hand-drawn logo on it, a postcard, movie poster. There's also, we have a contest going for animators, which is very exciting. So you can enter that with that reward, and you also get a digital download of the movie. Like any reward that's over $15, the movie is included.
Yeah. And with that animation contest, you might have a chance to like have your own little animation in the movie. So that's what the contest is all about.
Yeah. And I believe you also win, you win the ultimate backer package, which includes like pretty much all the perks.
We have some art books that you can get signed.
Yeah, absolutely. Samantha Youssef is offering her first volume of her gesture drawing book, which I have my own copy of here, and that will be signed. So it's a fantastic book. I've been going through it, and it's teaching you all about figure drawing. Yeah, and she's going to sign it. I'm not sure if she'll sign the front or the back, but that's my signature.
Yeah, signed copies.
And Tina Navratsky, she's also offering a bunch of her artwork prints, and they're also signed. So I'd make sure to check those out because they're really awesome. Gosh, there's a few others. What else was that? There's like a backer package, which let me double check what that includes. It's got the movie, all the physical goods, and sorry.
There's also a
so many things.
It's also that draw thing that you're gonna draw people.
Oh yeah. There's also a reward where you can have yourself or a pet or maybe like a character you love. I'll animate them for you if you select that reward. I think there's only a few of those left. Those are being claimed fast, so I'd get those.
Yeah. So
one of the greatest perks we have on offer is the Feature Your Animation perk. So this ensures that if you have a hand-drawn work, and that doesn't have to be traditional on paper, it can be digital, as long as it's frame-by-frame drawings. We don't mind too much what the medium is. And it can be a student short, it could be just a work you're working on, as long as it belongs to you. So basically, if you select this perk, it will be featured in the credits of our film, and it will be seen at any like film festival that we submit this film to. So yeah, I'd definitely check that out if you're interested in getting your animated works a bit more exposure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good rundown. There are probably a couple others.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
Yeah, seems like some great examples. Now, I got one more question before we go. So, I'm sure there are a lot of aspiring animators who are currently watching this and are also inspired to work on hand-drawn animations. So, what I would like to know is, do you two have any advice for any of the aspiring animators that are currently watching this?
I think my advice is just keep doing it. Like, that's the best advice I can give. Just draw all the time. This is the same advice that every animator I've ever met has told me. And I know it can be like the hardest thing to do is to just do it. But honestly, that's really the best advice. Just keep doing it. Don't get discouraged. If you lose your inspiration, you have to go out and search for it. Yeah.
One thing I would suggest for animators is to don't be afraid just to watch something you really enjoy and watch it frame by frame. Certain scenes that you find interesting, just go frame by frame, learn how they do it, and just keep practicing every day. You can even just try copying what you see and you'll just get better every day. Just keep on going.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you to so much for this interview, and even
thank
I
you.
have learned
Thank you.
so much about what is going on with it. So yeah, just a quick reminder about the IndieGoGo campaign. You can go and support them right now for it. It ends on November 26th, so get to it quick because a lot of them, as she stated, they will be in a limited time offer. So, it's the hand-drawn animation documentary. Oh, actually, there is one good question.
Sure.
Once everything is complete, when is it going to be coming out?
We're aiming for a 2020 release at the latest. I would love if it came out 2019. But I'm going to say realistically 2020.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I think that sums up everything. So thank you all for watching. Thank you guys for coming in for this interview.
Thank you.
And until next time, see you later, dudes.
Bye.
Bye.
It's horrible to think if it didn't exist. So I think it's for that reason, most importantly, it needs to exist.